This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter W. Welcoming you to another sports catastrophe on this day. It's a new month and a new way of thinking. It's June 1st, and 9 years ago, the New York Mets were on the precipice of something amazing. Now, when you think of the New York Mets, you think of the 1969 Miracle Mets, and basically it's their existence losing 120 games in their first season, which is still the Major League record for losses in a year. And you also think of great players who were Mets at one time, but basically were traded off. Like Mets terrible trades. Like they traded Nolan Ryan to the Angels for the want of a third baseman, which was Jim Fregosi, who didn't do so well. They also traded away, George Foster. They traded away Tom Seaver to Cincy because the owner was upset with Seaver's contract negotiations. And basically, Dave came in as well. So basically, 1977, they just sunk near the bottom. But thanks to some good drafting and some good scouting, they went up in the 1980s and were basically one of the best teams in the 80s. They won the 86 championship. They should have went to the 88 World Series, but the Dodgers stopped them in the LCS. They had some pretty good teams, but of course, cocaine problems by Gooden and Strawberry ruined the team, if you will. And the Mets were laughing stocks for most of the 90s, especially 93 when they just couldn't win games. But the good thing about the Mets was that they traded Tony Fernandez to the Blue Jays, which actually worked well for the Jays. Thank you very much. And of course, the Mets traded David Cohn to the Jays for Jeff Kent. I mean, Jeff Kent was a decent player for the Mets, but when he went to San Francisco, he went supernova. Just saying. Mets went to the 2000 World Series and all that. So basically, the Mets had one thing that was haunting them forever. Kind of what San Diego went through before this season in baseball. They just couldn't throw a no hitter. The Mets had a lot of near misses. So did the Padres. But the Mets were one of only two franchises to not get a no hitter. Even expansion teams after 1962 got no hitters. For example, Montreal's Bill Stoneman threw a no hitter in the team's ninth game in existence, which was freaking amazing. The Blue Jays threw a no hitter thanks to Dave Steve, although it took 13 years after the franchise started. Seattle has thrown many no hitters, including Irokuma, Felix Hernandez, and Randy Johnson. The Marlins have thrown a lot of no hitters. The Diamondbacks have had a few. The Rockies, Tampa Bay, you get the idea. So basically, the Mets were like waiting almost 50 years for a no hitter to be thrown. It is amazing. Thanks to the nice website ultimatemets.com, which I found by luck, it was huge. Like the guy even puts up like a box score scorecard about these matches. But anyway, the Mets have had many no one hit mistakes. In 1962, the first Mets one hitter was thrown by Al Jackson against the Houston Colt 45 / Astros, giving up a first inning single. The Mets did one in 66 against the Cardinals, but Jack Hamilton had a one hitter with a third inning single by Ray Sadecki, his opposite number as pitcher. But July 1969 was one of the worst things. Tom Seaver was mowing down the Chicago Cubs, and it was amazing. However, in the ninth inning, Jimmy Qualls came up with one out and hit a looping single. The Mets still won the game, but Seaver could have thrown a no-hitter. The Mets in 1970 actually had a chance at a no-hitter through 7 by Gary Gentry, but Ernie Banks broke that up with a single. There have been many one-hitters that actually have taken place. Like the only hits have been in early, like first through the 7th inning. But anyway, the next Mets close one was July 1972 when the Mets faced the San Diego Padres, who were going nowhere. Tom Seaver threw another one-hitter. He gave him a ninth-inning single to Laron Lee. And then on and on it went. Third and fifth innings were basically one-hitters. Nothing too thing. But David Cohn had a no-hitter in September 91 going through 7 until Felix Jose hit a 8th-inning double. The Mets kept trying and trying and trying. 2004, Tom Glavine had a no-hitter going through 7 innings before Kid Pello hit a 8th inning double off of him. And then the Mets were up 13-0. John Maine, Willie Colasso, Carlos Munoz. So basically, it was a chance for a combined no-hitter, but Paul Hoover hit a single for the Marlins. It was getting to be tiresome, and the Mets just couldn't get the job done. Thankfully, though, in 2012, a savior came over from the Twins by the name of June Santana, who was this great pitcher for the Twins. And once they let him go to the Mets, Minnesota went downhill a little bit. June Santana basically was a very decent pitcher who, for some reason, had a lot of potential, but basically injuries would ruin him, especially when he went to the Mets. His Mets career is defined by this one game, June 1st, 2012. The Mets were playing, I believe, the Cardinals, if memory serves me right. Basically, it was big. 7th inning came. There was a fly ball that looked like it was going to drop in. One of the outfielders comes in from left field and slams into the wall. He's on the DL. No big deal. The Mets still have that no-hitter. June Santana goes to the 9th inning with a no-hitter. People were like, yeah, right, like, this is going to be a no-hitter. I wouldn't blame them for their dissonance. So basically, the New York Mets fans were nervous at the bit. And of course, it's time for a Blue Shirt Underground plug, if you will. Because during that game in 2012, Blue Shirt Underground was doing a show, a podcast. And basically, good old Jim and Eddie were doing their stuff. And they were talking about Johan throwing a no-hitter possibly and all that. And, they were worried. Thankfully, though, the 9th inning was put on MLB.com and you can watch it for free. So I watched it alongside the podcast, the New York Rangers podcast. And basically, it was nerve-wracking and all that. But Santana got his no-hitter. And the Mets finally, after 50 years of trying, got their whale, if you will. So June Santana's thrown the first and, I guess, only no-hitter in Mets history. Thankfully, though, the Mets' record of waiting the longest before a no-hitter was actually broken by the San Diego Padres, who waited 51 plus years to get a no-hitter. I mean, San Diego started in 1969 until early 2021. They had no no-nos, but they've thrown a no-hitter this year. So anyway, June Santana's no-hitter was a decent move for Mets fans and a great memory until 2015 when they went to the World Series. But that was neither here or there. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.